I'm Pastor Eric Shafer. I'm senior pastor here at Mount Olive Lutheran Church in Santa Monica, California, and this is Hope Matters. Each week, I'll be talking with people from our community, from our state, from our country, and even all over the world, many of them longtime friends, and we'll be talking about the importance of hope in our lives. Today, I'm quite honored to have as our guest the Reverend Dr. Arthur Cribbs, Art Cribbs, who I think I've known for more than 25 years and who has been a dear friend for all of those years. And I came to California and there was Art. And of course, the first thing he did was recruit me for one of his favorite activities, but that's just the way we've helped each other over the years, just like Art is helping us today on this program. So Art, welcome. And why don't you tell the folks that are watching this a little bit about your background, because it's really an interesting background, as I remember.
Well, thank you so much, Eric. And it's an honor to join you on Hope Matters because it does. And it's all we really have too often. It's been quite a journey. My journey into ministry was started at 13 years old. And I had 3 events that happened successively that summer. First, my best friend since kindergarten was killed in Chicago while vacationing. He was hit by a truck and never made it home. And that continues to live in me, his death. I've never gotten over it from 13 till now. The second thing that happened was I preached my first sermon in my father's church. And I'll never forget, my dad said, well, who called you, your mother or God? You know? And, but I just felt something just very powerful. And I preached from John 14, let not your heart be troubled. The third thing that happened was I wrote my first newspaper story. I became a journalist for my junior high school newspaper. And those 3 events framed the rest of my life. Journalism, I started college as a journalism major, continued working first in television as a writer in Los Angeles, and then moved to the broadcast side as a news reporter in Reno, and then was blessed to travel all over the United States, working as a television news reporter. Got to Chicago and did radio extensively and was doing radio and television there. In the midst of that, I was always a preacher. There was a time when I tried to run away from the ministry. I thought I'll become a heathenist. And I really dedicated myself to a heathenist lifestyle. Thinking, one, I was too young to be a preacher. I was too inexperienced to be a preacher. I remember between the age of 15 and 19, I did more funerals of people in my community, my friends, and it just burned me out. And so my foundation, growing up in Watts, in Willowbrook here in Los Angeles, and then having the opportunity to live across the United States, mostly as a journalist and eventually as a minister, has been a gift and a blessing. I'm a father at a certain age. My children have recently graduated from college. I still have one in college. And so it's been kind of a pan-generational experience for me as well. But mainly, it's good to be with you, Eric. And we were so blessed to work together while you were in Chicago, heading the Office of Communication for the ELCA. And I was heading the Office of Communication for the United Church of Christ. That brought us together. It was a bonding. And God said, you guys are twins. You're going to hang together. And we've been able to do that. So it's good to be with you today.
It's been a blessing, Art. And, you know, I don't want to get too personal and weepy, but maybe I do. But, you know, when we came to California, there were 3 people we knew in California. You were one of them. And so it was such a joy to find, 1, that you were close, and 2, that you actually asked me to help you in something, because that really helped me too, to get rooted here and started. And so I'm very grateful.
Well, you were a great gift. And I didn't really mean to burden you. I was the executive director of an organization called Interfaith Movement for Human Integrity, previously CLU, California, Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice. And I can say it was the hardest job I ever had. We were responsible for a statewide movement to change things socially, politically, economically in the state of California. And I called you and you said yes. And I asked you to be the treasurer of our organization, on our board of directors, and you helped me to weather the storm of a tremendously significant work in the state. But one, I was incompetent. I had never worked in a nonprofit. never headed a nonprofit, and here we were, and you joined me with that, and we weathered the storm. You helped us get our finances leveled out. We were able to transition the organization, and it's still going very well, very powerfully, and you helped to make that happen. So
thank you. I was, it did go well, Art, with your leadership, and I do remember those first days with the conversion from the one organization to the other, and how difficult that was.
mm,
And but we made it happen together. We made it happen with a lot of other help from a lot of wonderful board members and fine staff, one of whom became your successor. So it was a gift. So well, let's talk about hope today. We
yeah.
mentioned a little bit, but our theme is Hope Matters. And Art, how does hope matter in your life?
It's all we have, particularly in this pandemic and the global reaction to police brutality in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which I always thought of Minneapolis as this great liberal bastion, the place where we turn to for elevated thought and advice. So without hope, oh my gosh, how do we wake up in the morning? We hope for things that we've never experienced. We hope to get through things that we're experiencing deeply. It's really the engine, the juice, the spirit, the power, the energy that helps us to go forward. To be hopeless, oh my goodness, where do you turn? When you're hopeless, where do you get the energy to believe in anything that is possible? So hope, it is not easily defined. The things that we desire, we wish for, but hope takes us beyond the wish. It moves us into the possibility. It moves us into believing whatever we're going through is temporary. Whatever experience that we've had is in the past. We hope because hope projects us forward. It is a gift, and it is inspired by the most divine reality. Hope comes from a heavenly place. They both begin with H. Heavenly hope. Hope makes it possible for us to get up in the morning when we'd rather not. It moves us into the midnight of our lives without a spotlight, without a flashlight, and we go forward anyway because we believe there is more than the moment. That's hope.
Wow.
Knowing the reality, it does not deny what the challenge is. It does not deny what is in front of us that even threatens us, but it moves us with power. We hope, we believe, we move, we do. That's hope.
Wow. So what do you say to someone who's really struggling today, looking around? I mean, it's easy to be hopeless today. If the events of the last 3 weeks, especially, but the events of the last 3 months haven't shaken you, I don't know where you've been living. I mean, what do you say to that person? What do you say to a young African-American man who's saying, again? I mean, or someone who's just, whose parents died of this terrible disease. I mean, it's easy today to be hopeless, isn't it?
Life is not pedestrian. Life is not casual. Life is very real. And events that take place, and we're living in what is called an unprecedented moment, right? We're calling this virus unprecedented. We're looking at a global reaction to what appeared to have been a very local experience. And it wasn't local at all. People are identifying with it from their own experience, from their own perspectives all over the world. Now, I was a news reporter for a long time. I have never experienced this moment before, where no matter where you are in the world, you are captivated either by this pandemic, this virus, or this singular event in Minneapolis that was no longer in Minneapolis. It was very personal to so many people. What I would say to anyone, and I spend time with people, I've been with people on death row here in California. I've been with mostly men, but also women who are incarcerated, locked up in prison, going to jail when they're 15, 16, 17, 18 years old and are still there now. And I'm talking about people who have gray hair and wrinkled skin who entered that institution as children, as juveniles, as youth, as young people. What is interesting, Eric, many of the people I meet are hopeful. They may not know when they're going to get out, but something has happened. I'm talking about people who are incarcerated, who have been there for a long time. They give me hope, because in the situation where they have lost their liberty, their movement, their mobility, their freedom, they have lost everything, but they still believe and they still have hope. So I would say to those of us who are able to walk around, who are able to decide when we're going to eat. You don't do that when you're in prison. What we're going to eat. We don't do that in prison. How we're going to eat, how long we're going to be here, what we're going to do after we eat. I would say we have no reason to be hopeless. We have no reason to feel like life doesn't matter, that we're in this by ourselves. So I would say to all of us, hope is not trivial, but find it. Find it in the crevices of your life. Find it in between the events that bring you down. And when you're feeling really low, breathe deeply. Because if you can take in a breath, you have life. And if you have life, hope is right there with you. Find it. You know, one of the things that is very interesting, I've never been in prison. I've never spent a night in jail. I don't intend to. At 70-year-old Black and American, a male, I think that's a badge. I've never been arrested. I don't want to get arrested. But for people who have been arrested, they befriend the ants, the spiders, and even the roaches and rats or mice that may be in their cells. They befriend them. They don't try to kill them. They befriend them. That's prison. That's jail. I would say to any of us who have a breath of life, if you feel hopeless, pay attention to the spiders. Listen to the birds that provide for you a free chorus. Take in a deep breath and realize your lungs are taking in new life. Don't play with hope. Don't dismiss hope. Embrace it. Find it, even in the worst moment. Find it. Find that's something. And if you can't find it within yourself, look for an ant that's very busy scurrying, trying to find food. Look for the spider that may be knitting a web somewhere in the corner. Listen to the birds that are singing a chorus. And if you listen carefully, they're entertaining you. That's hope.
Thank you, Art. That's wonderful and so true. And so true. There is hope out there in all situations if we just look a little deeper, isn't it? Isn't it true? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. My guest here on Hope Matters has been the Reverend Dr. Art Cribbs, who has a resume several pages long. I knew him when he was the executive director of the Interfaith Movement for Human Integrity here in California, but we've known each other from our communication days in the United Church of Christ and the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, and we remain dear friends. Art is no stranger to our congregation, and I know we're going to have him back, hopefully back here even on Hope Matters, talking about something else. So thank you for being with us, Art, and it's been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Eric, and thanks for all that you do. Maybe we can turn the camera around and interview you, because you have a lot that you have shared and a lot more to share. Thank you for the honor.
Thank you, Art. I appreciate that. Thank you for joining us today for Hope Matters, Mount Olive's attempt at talking to the world about the importance of hope in our lives. Tune again for our next show. We're hoping to have a number of these shows ready to present to you very soon, because hope matters. Thank you.